אני שמח על כך שכבוד שגריר גרמניה בישראל, מר שטפן זייברט, מכבד אותנו בנוכחותו, ואני מזמין אותו לשאת את דברו. Seine Exzellenz, sehr geehrter Herr Seibert, die Bühne gehört Ihnen. Bitte schön.
Good morning, dear Professor Lavi, dear Dr. Auer Ben David, Michael and Olli Bach, Your Honor, Professor Barak, dear Petra Pau, Vice President of the German Bundestag, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Gabi Bach, אני סליחה שאני לא יכול לתת הנאום שלי בעברית, אבל באנגלית, סליחה. It's a great pleasure, it's above all an honor to be here. It's a great particular honor to be here and to take the floor after you, Professor Barak, a giant of legal history of this country and someone who, as it happens to giants, stands in a lot of storms, and I'm very pleased to see you stand strong in those storms. First, I would like to thank you, Frau Dr. Auer Ben David, Professor Lavi, for hosting and organizing this conference. In memory of Gabriel Gabi Bach, thank you for letting me speak here today at what may be the beginning of a new format, perhaps to exchange on values that unite us between Germany and Israel today. Liberal democracy, the rule of law, tolerance, values that unite us and values that are under threat in many countries, including ours, values that we have to defend and that we have to perhaps reconquer every day and do that with a civic passion. Dear Michael and Orly Bach, unfortunately I never had the chance to meet your father in person. I'm very envious of all the German ambassadors before me who had him as an amazing partner in conversations. I can only promise that also I, who did not meet him personally, will do my best to keep this extraordinary legacy that he left, to keep it alive and to keep the knowledge about what he meant to this country alive. The fact, I think, that the President of Israel has addressed this audience just 5 minutes ago and the Vice President of the German Bundestag will address you in a couple of minutes, I think demonstrates how much Gabriel Bach, his personality, his dedication, his achievement mean for both of us, for the State of Israel, first and foremost, of course, but also for the Federal Republic of Germany. I will not try to go through every aspect of his life because I think there's a whole 90-minute session devoted to this, but still let me say some things, because to understand his biography is also to understand a bit of what drove him to do what he did afterwards. Born in Halberstadt, moved to Berlin at an early age, grew up in Konstanzer Straße in Wilmersdorf, a street that I've walked through like 5,000 times. Went to Zionist Theodor Herzl School, yes, in Adolf Hitler Platz, which is mind-boggling. And as a young boy already in Berlin, he experienced how slowly but surely all the humiliations, all the details of oppression crept into the lives and made lives of Jews in Berlin impossible and unbearable more and more year by year. His parents then, moved from Berlin to Amsterdam, and from there, just in time, they made it to Palestine. So he escaped, they escaped. He was, by the way, the only of his Jewish schoolmates of his class to survive the Holocaust. Of course, Gabi Bach is known best for his decisive role in the trial against Adolf Eichmann, the engineer of the Shoah. He said, and I quote him, "I wanted to prove that Eichmann was not just a Befehlsempfänger," which is a terrible but fitting German word for people who say they only receive orders. That he was not just a Befehlsempfänger, but that he identified with the goal of killing the Jews. He really wanted to kill the entire Jewish people. End of quote. And in a fair trial, Gabi Bach provided the crucial and overwhelming evidence that Eichmann was indeed guilty of organizing this most horrific crime ever committed in human history. Eichmann's apprehension in Argentina, his trial under the rule of law, in front of the eyes of the world, proved that justice can be done. It proved that arguing that you only follow the instructions of some superior authorities is not a valid excuse for committing crimes such as genocide or crimes against humanity. Legally, this had been established by the Nuremberg trials before, but I am convinced that the Eichmann trial was the actual game changer It took many years, but in the end, also prosecutors in other countries, including Germany, hunted down some of those guilty of contributing to the Shoah. There was a whole chain reaction of trials in Germany, including the Auschwitz process in Frankfurt. We also know how important the Eichmann trial was for Israeli society and for survivors of the Shoah. They and their family members had endured unimaginable, unspeakable atrocities, so it was important to them that witnesses spoke about it, that everybody could hear what had actually happened, hear the testimony in court. And Gabi Bach, I'll quote him again, he said the goal of the many testimonies was to show our youth there was no reason to feel ashamed. So in Israel, in Germany, and around the globe, these testimonies were heard. Now, we will not have many years left before the actual voices of survivors will and can still be heard. And it is our obligation to preserve their testimonies for the benefit and for the protection of all humans. Adolf Eichmann was found guilty by the court and later executed almost exactly 61 years ago. So far, he is the only person in the history of Israel who was sentenced to death in a criminal trial and then executed. And allow me, as the representative of a country that strongly rejects capital punishment, to say that it would underline the uniqueness of the Shoah if its engineer would remain the only person ever to be executed by the State of Israel. In Berlin, to be precise, in Kurfürstenstraße, there is a memorial plaque where Adolf Eichmann had his office and from where he organized the Shoah. Before he had moved in, the building was used by a Jewish organization, the Brüderverein. There is also another commemorative plaque, and that's where I will go next time when I'm in Berlin in a couple of weeks, near where the school was that Gabi Bach went to, Theodor Herzl School. And I will try to pay homage there to him, a person who made it, fortunately, to a very fruitful, very important life here in Israel, and pay homage to the many classmates who couldn't. The Eichmann legacy will live in infamy, a reminder of the lowest moral depths to which a person and an entire nation can sink, and we owe a mountain of gratitude to Gabriel Bach and to others like him to have exposed this to the world using the instruments of the law. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very fruitful and interesting conference. Thank you very much for letting me speak here.